Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation I received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's no filter Q&A with question number one. Nick, what's the one habit almost every successful client of yours has that unsuccessful clients never seem to develop? Ooh, that's a really good question. I would say they have a great sense of consistency. 100%. They have realistic goals. They're not setting these ridiculous goals. I need to lose 20 pounds in 30 days. I need to get ripped abs in 3 weeks or any like these are people who understand that this is a process, that it's going to take time and it's going to take consistency on their part. It's going to take dedication on their part. Okay, it's going to take discipline on their part. If people come into the gym to work with me and they understand this, they'll be successful. The people who are not successful are the people who have these ridiculous goals. And I'm not saying that those goals are unattainable, but they give themselves ridiculous timelines to achieve these goals. So if someone says to me, well, I'm, 280 pounds, but I want to be 150 pounds in 3 months, I'm like, you're insane. That's not going to happen. Okay. Can it happen? Yeah, it could happen, but the problem is at what cost? Right. And the thing is, because it's such an unrealistic goal, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. And those people tend to fall off the wagon much easier because of their unrealistic expectations. And for example, for that person, if they're looking to lose 100 pounds in like 30 or 60 days and they don't lose like 3 or 4 pounds in the first week, that can be very discouraging. I'm like, well, what are you going to do next? Right? How much you're already behind. So you have to come in and you have to manage your expectations. You have to set smart goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals. And most importantly, you have to remain consistent. I talk about the consistency factor as being crucial when it comes to creating a stronger body, a healthier physique, just overall being more healthier and fit. And it's the people who are willing to go to the gym day in, day out. It's the people who are willing to stick to the diet. Those are the people that become successful. It's the same thing in business. I always tell my clients who own their own businesses, I say, did you build your business by working on it once a week, twice a week, here and there, sporadically? No, they worked on it 7 days a week. They worked on it 16 hours, 20 hours a day to build something that they're actually able to grow and sustain and become profitable at. It's the same thing with your physique. If you truly care about building your physique, no, you don't have to be in the gym for 16 hours a day, but you have to be in the gym, in my opinion, at least 5 times a week. You have to make sure your diet is dialed in. You have to make sure you get enough rest. You have to make sure you're staying hydrated. All these things are crucial. You have to make sure you're following a proper supplement protocol, your vitamins and your minerals in. So yeah, to answer that question, it's the people who understand that the consistency factor is huge and are willing to put in the time, the effort, and the discipline towards achieving their goals. Those are the people that are successful, hands down. All right. Yeah, some people struggle with the diet more than others, of course. Okay. Some people struggle with going to the gym more than others. But across the board, it's the people that don't miss workout after workout. You miss one workout every few weeks, every few months, no big deal. But if you're constantly missing workouts, you're constantly showing up late for your sessions, you're constantly skipping meals, you're constantly ordering from Uber Eats, no, you're not going to achieve your goals. And again, what happens with those people when they start to get further and further away from achieving their goals, it becomes very unmotivating, very discouraging, and then they just give up altogether. And that's why you see a lot of people, they start going to the gym, and after 2 or 3 weeks, you never see them again. And in my opinion, the reason that happens is because they have unrealistic goals and they didn't plan accordingly. They didn't realize, like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to get a six pack overnight. I'm going to have to actually work for this. Okay. And it goes beyond just training in the gym for an hour. This goes with your diet, with your rest, with your sleep, what you do outside the gym. How often are you going out for drinks? How often are you going out for these social events where it's surrounded by bad food? Okay. So that's why I always tell people it's very important to stay disciplined with your diet in accordance with your training, okay? Because you can't have one without the other. So to answer that question, I would say it's my clients who are consistent are the ones that always become successful. The ones who are not consistent or who lack that consistency factor struggle for sure. All right. Nick, if you woke up tomorrow with an average body again, how would you rebuild an impressive physique from scratch as quickly as possible? Well, I don't think I have an amazing body, but if I were to wake up and I've lost all my muscle, I can tell you what I would do because I've been there before. I've done it twice before. Once back in 2020, after my appendix surgery, I had to take 30 days off from the gym. I lost a lot of muscle. And then once again, when I had my hernia surgery last summer, again, I took 30 days off from the gym, lost a lot of muscle. Um, it was more losing the strength in the gym, losing that muscle density, that lean, hard muscle that I was used to seeing. I didn't put on fat, but it felt like I was starting from ground zero all over again. And I wasn't starting from ground zero, but mentally it felt like I was starting from ground zero because for me, someone who goes to the gym every day for the past 25 years, you take 30 days out of that, it's hard. It's more hard mentally than physically. Okay. And for me, and this is my personality type, I'm someone that goes back to, well, how did I get there before? What did I do? And it was like, well, for me, I have a 5 day training split. So I would implement that 5 day training split back in. Now, if I'm starting from ground zero again, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be squatting 315 on day one, but I'll build my way up to doing that. I'll approach my workouts strategically. Okay. And when I go through every exercise I do in every sequence, I'll approach those exercises methodically. So I'll really think about what I'm doing, mind to muscle connection, make sure I'm structuring my workouts properly. Now, my first week back to the gym, am I going to train 5 days in a row? Well, knowing me, I probably would try to, but I listen to my body. So if my body says to me, hey, no, you got to take a day off because I'm sore or I'm just feeling like it's not going to be a good workout, I listen to my body. But I also want to make sure that I'm dialing in my nutrition because I'm all or nothing. So if my training program's set in place, my diet's going to be there too. And I'm going to really dial into making sure my diet complements my training program. So in order to build my physique back to where it once was, I'd go back to my training split, a 5 day training split, make sure I was doing at least 20 to 30 minutes of cardio a day. Even if I didn't put on any fat, I was just doing it overall for heart health and to make sure that I find when I put cardio into my workouts, I take less rest between sets because my cardiovascular endurance is better. So I always do cardio 20 minutes after my workout. So I would do 20, 30 minutes on the treadmill, the elliptical trainer, just to make sure my heart health is good and my cardiovascular system is in check. So I don't rest too long in between sets. And I'd also make sure that my diet, my supplement protocol aligned with my training program. So with my diet, I'd go back to doing my 6 meals a day. I'd get right back on portioning my meals. I'd use my food scale and make sure that I'm structuring that properly, getting in at least 4 liters of water a day for a guy my size. You know, I went back down to ground zero, I'd be going for 4 liters of water a day, and I'd be looking to get that 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And I know it would take time. Just like the last question, I know it would take time. I would have set a smart goal, a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely goal. I would not say, hey, I'm going to get my physique back in 30 days. This is going to take some time now. Okay. If I'm starting back from ground zero again, I'm going to give myself 6 months to a year to get back to where I was. And I actually find that that's actually a little faster than most people. But you have to remember, if you're someone like me and let's say you are starting back from ground zero again, but you've been to that peak before, you know how to get there. And because you know how to get there, you can fast track your results because you know the path to get there. You have muscle memory. All right. So if this resonates with anyone who actually used to go to the gym and they had a great physique and they've fallen off the wagon and now they've got to put on a little bit of fat, they've lost their muscle and they're feeling very, discouraged and unmotivated, I'm telling you right now, because you have that history of bringing your physique to that top notch again, you can do it. All right. You just have to find your path back again. All right. And you follow that path, follow your training split, follow your nutritional plan, your supplement protocol, make sure they all align properly. I can tell you right now, the hardest part of that is the mental battle. It's not the physical battle, it's the mental battle. But if you can, you know, push through that and be very strong mentally to get yourself through that, you're going to exceed your own expectations and you might get the results even faster. All right. But that's what I would do if I had to start from ground zero again. I get my 5 day training split in order. I get my 6 meals a day on my nutrition plan, make sure my supplements are lined up, making sure I'm getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep, 4 liters of water a day. I'd have my physique back to normal in 6 months to a year max. All right. Okay. Nick, at what point should someone admit they're never going to have the physique that they want? Is there ever a time when genetics really are the limiting factor? I think there's always a time when genetics are a limiting factor. And, I never want to be someone who's going to tell you you can be anything you want because that's not true. I've had people come to me and say that they want to be on the Olympia stage one day. And I say to them, quite frankly, I'm like, maybe, but you first have to win a regional show. And if you can't win a regional show as a natural bodybuilder, you're don't even think about the Olympia, because you got to win a regional show, then you got to win a provincial show, then you got to win a national show, all right? And then you got to go compete, get your pro card, and compete at a pro level show to qualify for the Olympia. That's a lot of shows you got to jump through. So, I mean, I always tell people like a lot of people have the genetics for this, and more people don't. It's the same thing with professional sports, basketball, hockey. A lot of people they have the work ethic, they do. And a lot of the people who have great work ethic, they do make it as professional athletes. And they might not have the best genetics. But when you combine talent, great genetics, and a great work ethic, that's an unbeatable combination. All right. So I always tell people like to manage their expectations. So genetics are definitely a factor for sure. And I think they're a factor for anything. They really are. But I think what happens with a lot of people is they put limitations on themselves because they feel like, well, I'm never going to look like that. And my argument is, I don't feel that a lot of people push themselves hard enough in the gym and are disciplined with their diet to truly see what they're capable of achieving with their physique. I really believe this because a lot of people I've worked with over the years, they'll stay consistent for a few months, maybe a few years, and then they'll take the foot off the gas for a few months or a few years and come back again. Every time you do that, that back and forth, it's like three steps forward, three steps back. You're going back to ground zero again. So again, it comes back again to what I was talking about earlier, the consistency factor. And that's huge. So yes, genetics play a role. Absolutely, they play a role. You're kidding yourself if you say no, you can overcome anything with even poor genetics. That's not true. All right. If that were true, I would be Mr. Olympia because the amount of times I spend in the gym and the amount of the dedication I've had to my diet, but I don't look like Mr. Olympia, and that's my genetics, and I'm okay with that. But I have realistic expectations of what I can achieve with my physique. Now, when I first started lifting weights, I had an idea of what I wanted to look like. And once, for me, I surpassed that. I'm like, wow, I actually was able to build a pretty good chest. I was actually to build veins in my arms. Like, I was really impressed with that. And then I thought, well, now I want to look like a bodybuilder. And I never looked like a professional bodybuilder because I just didn't have the genetics and I really didn't want to do all the drugs it takes to get that big and that ripped. And that's okay. But I managed my expectations and now I'm happy with the physique I have. I actually don't like think to myself, oh, I really hate the way I look. I like the way I look. I don't look as big as I used to look, and I'm okay with that. I don't want to look that big anymore. It serves me no purpose whatsoever to be walking around at 240 pounds. None. At 40 years old, there's no reason for me to be that heavy. But I think that a lot of people, it's good to have a idea of what you want to look like, but also don't compare yourself and say, well, I want that physique. Because I think that's bad. I think like, well, I want something similar to that physique, but I also know how my structure is. And I know I might not look like if you're a 5'2" guy, you say, I want to look like Dwayne Johnson. Well, Dwayne Johnson's over 6 feet. You're not going to look like Dwayne Johnson. I don't care what you do with muscle. You're not going to look like him. Not going to happen. Okay. But you can like say, well, a shorter guy maybe. And I want to have that muscle bellies. I want to have those round muscle bellies. That's what I want to create. And I always think it's good to have a goal. I think it's good to have a short-term goal and a long-term goal. I always talk about having both, but those goals can change, and that's okay. It's like the same thing. I say the goalposts can change. They can go wider, they can go longer, because as you continue along on your fitness journey, whatever you want to call it, as you start to develop, let's say, a better physique or a stronger physique, whatever your goal is, now it might shift a little bit. So, what, I'm kind of happy with the way I'm looking, but I don't want to get bigger. Or maybe, I'm really into running now. Maybe I want to be a long distance runner. I want to start doing some cardio, back off the weights a little bit. So now the goal is shifted more towards performance, right? As opposed to aesthetics. So I don't think it's good to put limitations on yourself because you would say, well, I'm never going to develop that because of my genetics. Instead, change your mindset and think, well, I don't care if I don't look like a professional bodybuilder or a bikini competitor. That's not for me. but I want to build the best physique that I possibly can from my genetics. And if you're doing that in a natural way, you're not enhanced, you're not using anabolic steroids. I just think I want to do all my research. I'll hire the best coach I can find, work with that coach, help put together a structured diet plan for me, a training program for me. And I'm going to take this on as a project for myself, not just to improve my aesthetics, but to improve my overall health and my well-being. And that's the driving force. And that's what I always tell a lot of my clients is it's good if aesthetics get you into the gym, but there has to be another why. And that why could be I'm more productive at work. I'm in a better mood with my partner. Okay. I sleep better at night. I recover better. I think more clearly. Okay. My libido's higher. So you have to have other goals beyond the aesthetics and think of all the benefits that exercising regularly adds to your life. Okay. Nick, what's something you've completely changed your mind about since becoming a personal trainer? Ooh, when I first started lifting weights and I realized what it took to really build a physique, I just assumed that everyone had to be in the gym 6 days a week, lifting for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, making sure that they're eating like a bodybuilder, sleeping like a bodybuilder if they just want to get decent results. That was my mindset. So I was always shocked as a trainer when I started working with new clients, and I'm like, they only want to be in the gym twice a week. And I'm like, well, you can't be in the gym twice a week. You're not going to build a physique like twice a week. You got to be in the gym 5 days a week, 6 days a week. And I still truly believe that you have to be in the gym more frequently if you want to build like a really like overdeveloped physique, like a physique where someone goes, wow, this person works out. But then I realized that's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to be in the gym 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. Okay. They want to, some people just say, I want to go to the gym twice a week. This is not my life. It's something I want to do because I want to be able to build some muscle, which you can do it twice a week. I want to be able to keep my body fat levels low, which you can do if you're dialing in your diet at least 70% of the time. But my old school mentality was, oh, it has to be 100% of the time. It was all or nothing. And that's the way I thought. And now that I'm older and that I've worked with so many people who do just go to the gym twice a week and have still built great physiques, then their diets are not perfect. I mean, I work with some people whose diets are definitely not perfect, not even close to perfect. But the fact that they're at least conscious of trying to make good choices and at least 50% of the meals they're consuming are clean, and at least they're going to the gym twice, maybe 3 times a week. I have to look at that and go, wow, that's a win because you're helping this person who, if they didn't work with you or they thought like you, then like, well, I can't go to the gym 6 days a week or 5 days a week. I can't dial in my diet 100%. I'm not even going to bother. And so you're taking someone who could have been living a very sedentary, unhealthy lifestyle who is now cleaned up that lifestyle and they're eating maybe 50% clean and they're going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. And what I've learned from that is that's a huge win because not only is that person adding years to their life, because they are going to be more healthy, they're going to be more fit just by those 2 or 3 sessions a week. God, you go to the gym 3 times a week, right there, that's 12 times a month, right? You dial in your diet at least 50% of the time, half the time. So half those meals of the day are a win. That's 15 days of clean eating. All right. That's going to add years to your life. So my mindset now, it's not all or nothing. You don't need to do all or nothing. Even if you do half, hell, even if you give me 30%, for some of my clients, I'm thrilled because I'm like, that's a win because last year you were drinking every day. You were going to takeout, you were ordering from McDonald's every day, right? You didn't even know what a gym looked like. So now you just coming to the gym twice a week, that's a win. You cleaning up your diet for like 50% of the day, that's a win. And so what I've learned from that is that it doesn't have to be perfect. The training doesn't have to be perfect. The diet doesn't have to be perfect. The sleep, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, yes, it's nice if everything aligns, but you know what? Even if it doesn't align, everything mixes and matches and it's all over the place. You got to cut a workout short. You show up late for a workout. You miss 2 or 3 meals. Don't let that discourage you and say, well, what's the point? I can't even do this. No, don't think like that. There are so many times where I'll do a workout and it'll be cut short because I know I'm busy in sessions all day and I can only do like a 30, 35 minute workout. Back in the day, I wouldn't even bother. I'm like, what's the point of that? Now, when I'm older, I'm like, well, no, there's still a point for that. I can still get a really good workout in 30, 35 minutes. It's better than me not doing it at all. Because back in the day, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to bother. What's the point? And if I'm not going to do that, what does it matter if I stick to my diet today? I'm not even training. And that mindset can really mess you up. So rather than think all or nothing, get that out of your head and start thinking it doesn't have to be all or nothing. If I can just do something, that's a win. Okay. So if I were to ask that question, the one thing that I think differently about now, it's not this extreme mentality of all or nothing, everything has to be perfect, because that's simply not true. And I've got tons of clients that work for years who will back me on this because they've made incredible achievements and have had achieved incredible results by just going to the gym 2, 3 times a week. And like I said, eating clean 50, preferably 60% of the time. And they still made great results. So it can be done. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Okay. Nick, if you had a son who wanted to get into bodybuilding, would you ever support him using steroids one day? Or would you try to talk him out of it? I would never try to talk anyone out of doing anything. Okay. I would imagine that my son at this point would be over the age of 18, so he would be an adult and he could make his own decisions. It's my job, though, as a parent, or even with my own clients who choose to go on anabolic steroids, is to educate them on the facts and let them understand that what they're doing does have risks and does have danger. Okay. Are people dying from steroids? In my opinion, no. The people who are dying from anabolic steroids are the people who do too much. They didn't put too much pressure on the heart, stay on too long, okay, go to extreme levels. But the people who are doing moderate amounts and are coming on and off, okay, they're not blasting and cruising, but they're coming off completely. Those people don't really seem to have that many health issues. And, don't take my word for it. You look at a lot of bodybuilders in the 70s and 80s, they're still alive today. The ones that are dying are the young ones, the guys of like today's era. Like I see guys in their 20s dying, right? And it's because, in my opinion, it's because they're using too much stuff. They want results too quickly. So they're fast tracking everything, more drugs, more food, right? More GH, more insulin. And that to me, that's a lethal concoction. And that's why we're seeing a lot more deaths in bodybuilding now than ever before. Okay, but again, you go back to the Lee Haney era in the 80s and in the 70s, Arnold's era, a lot of those guys are well into their 70s and even their 80s and they're fine. Okay, because everything was moderation. And the physiques weren't ridiculously big. Look at the physiques in the 70s and 80s versus the physiques of today. I'm not bad-mouthing the bodybuilders of today at all. I think they're still great athletes. But I feel that a lot of them push too much drugs, too much food. Like I said, too much growth hormone, too much insulin. And that's why we're seeing a lot of deaths in bodybuilding now. So if I had a son that wanted to get into the sport, I would make sure that that person or that son understands what they're getting themselves into as far as the anabolic usage, the PED usage, educates themselves, and I would educate him as well. And I would try to get him to emulate bodybuilders from the 70s and 80s, that look. Because to me, those looks like the Franco Columbu, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lee Haney, Rich Gasparari, those physiques, Bob Francis, those physiques to me, I mean, that's the physique I always wanted to achieve. I never wanted to, as much as I like these bodybuilders, I never wanted to look like Jay Cutler or Ronnie Coleman. Like I did nothing against them. I think they're great bodybuilders, but I didn't want to look like that. So I always aspired to look like the smaller guys, the leaner guys, the more to me aesthetically pleasing physiques. And to me, that was less drug usage. Okay. And I could be wrong. Maybe the big guys were not using as much stuff, but I feel like a lot of the guys that today have used a lot more than the guys from the 80s and 70s are, just by looking at the physiques. Okay. So I think I would never try to talk someone out of doing something, especially if they're an adult. If they're my kid, no, they're not using steroids until they're at least 18. Preferably, I would have a kid using steroids if they're going to use steroids after they've been training for at least 10 years naturally. But once they're 18, they can make their own decisions, and that would be completely up to him. But my job as a parent would be to make sure that they're educated on anabolic steroid usage, PED usage, peptide usage, whatever they want to use, and understand that the risks and the dangers that come along with these drugs. Okay. Nick, why do so many people train hard for years but still look exactly the same? Is it really genetics, or are they making mistakes they don't even realize? Listen, if you've been training for years and you don't even look like you work out, you can't blame your genetics. You're either doing something wrong in the gym, doing something wrong with your diet, or most likely doing something wrong with both. Okay. A lot of people go to the gym, but I watch a lot of people's workouts and they don't know what the hell they're doing. They just kind of wing it. They go to a bench press, they go to a dumbbell curl, they go to a squat rack, they go to another bench press, they go to another curl, maybe they go for a lunge. That's it. off they go. A lot of people come into the gym, spend majority of their time on their phone. You are not going to get results if the majority of your workout is spent cruising Instagram. You won't. You're not going to get results if you don't have a workout that makes zero sense. If you're not putting things in proper sequence. You don't have a training split in place, and you're just kind of randomly winging it. Well, I'm going to train this muscle today, and I'll throw this in. Yeah, maybe I'll do a little bit of cardio. No, that's nonsense. You have to have a game plan. All right. So if you are someone who's been training for like say 5 years and you only look like you work out, I hate to break it to you, you are doing something wrong. Because anyone who I've worked with for over a year, they look like they work out. All right. It looks like they go to the gym. Even my clients who train twice a week, it looks as if they work out in some capacity. Okay. So you don't have to look like a professional bodybuilder, but you should look like, hey, yeah, I've got some size on my arms if you're a guy, right? Or you're a woman, you have some nice definition on your triceps. You should look the part, right? So, yes, you're doing something wrong. So, I wouldn't blame your genetics. All right. I hate when people blame their genetics because I feel like that's such a cop out. Because, like I said, I feel like most people don't push themselves to reach their full potential naturally. I truly don't. And I'll even take myself for this. Like I've trained for years, but have I pushed myself completely to max? Maybe not. There's some times where I question, like, "Well, I could have done a little bit more in my 20s, maybe. I could have dialed in my diet a little bit better. So did I truly push myself beyond my limits? No. So I can't really blame my genetics fully. I know I don't have the genetics to be a professional bodybuilder, but I also know that I don't want to be a professional bodybuilder, like I said earlier. So I didn't have those goals. I wanted to bodybuild more for my business, to build a better business so I could coach athletes at the amateur level. And I always feel like, you can't practice unless you can't practice, you have to practice what you preach, right? I always say that. I truly believe you have to practice what you preach. So if I'm going to coach someone for a bodybuilding show, well, I sure as hell should have done at least in my opinion, at least 10 bodybuilding shows before I even coached anyone. Before I coached my first person for a show, I did 15 shows myself. Okay. Probably should have done a little bit more as well. But that was my first client I had on a contest level. Okay. And now, 50 something shows later, I have a lot more clients I train for shows, but I feel like you should practice what you preach. Okay. But again, I don't feel like when people tell me, I've been training for so long and I don't know, I don't even look like I work out. And then I want to see what they do in the gym. Because 9 times out of 10, when people come to work with me and they tell me they don't know what they're doing wrong, and I watch, it's either poor form, poor technique, poor structured workouts that they're sending me what they're doing in the gym, not enough intensity. And it's also usually combined with a diet that's lacking protein. It's inconsistent again, it's not structured, it's sporadic eating. So all this stuff plays factors into what results you're going to achieve or not achieve with your physique. All right. So I wouldn't blame genetics for that. All right. I would only blame genetics if you've truly tapped out all your reserves, which again, in 25 plus years of doing this job, I've never met a single person who, in my opinion, has done that. Okay. Because most people don't want to go to that level, myself included. So I think it's just a cop out when people blame their genetics. So if you're not looking the part after 5 years of training, hire a coach. Hire a coach to either help you in the gym, help you with your diet, or help you with both. It's not like I know it might be a hit to an ego if you're someone who lives all the time, like, I can do this on my own. But if you're not seeing changes in your physique, obviously you can't do it on your own. And it's okay to say, hey, I need help. That's fine. That's actually going to mean that you actually don't have an ego and you're like, you know what, I this is something I need help with. And that's why there's coaches. That's why I'm here to help people build their physique in a safe and effective manner. Okay, so that they don't have to, waste time, energy, and effort in the gym doing anything wrong. They can fast track their results because I'm going to show them how to put together a structured nutrition plan combined with a structured training program, how to lift correctly, how to program accordingly. All right, so that you don't overtrain, that you don't under recover, okay, that you grow. Okay. And that's why people have coaches, not just for the accountability factor, but also to help them fast track their results and save them wasted time and effort in the gym. Okay. Because who wants to waste their time? So if you're not seeing results, hire a coach. It's going to be the best investment. I always say the best ROI you're ever going to make on your health and your fitness. Okay. Okay. Nick, is getting older really the reason people gain weight, or do most people just use age as an excuse? Yeah, so I've had this question a few times over the years, and I said it time and time again. The metabolism does not slow down with age. Bullshit. Don't believe it. Show me one study. Never see it. I know when people go on medications that can have impacts on the metabolism. I'm not suggesting that. I know hormonal fluctuations can have impacts on the metabolism, but age, no. Mm-mm. You're born with your metabolism. Some people are born naturally heavier than others, right? We see some people who can eat whatever they want, they stay thin. Those are called ectomorphs. We see other people who put on weight just by looking at a carb, right? Those are called endomorphs. That's your body type, that's your genetics, that's your metabolism. That's what it is. Now, can you change your metabolism in a sense where you can speed it up? I believe you can if you're incorporating weight training because the more muscle you carry, the more calories your body exerts or burns in a rested state. All right. Because the more energy you exert in a rested state. So the more muscle mass you have, yes, I believe that the metabolism does burn more calories, but that's only because you have more muscle. You take that muscle away, no, your metabolism is going to stay the same. Do I think the metabolism slows down? Absolutely not. I really don't. Like I said, yes, with certain medications, hormonal fluctuations, sure. But with age, no. I think what happens with age, people get more comfortable, start making a little bit more money. Maybe they want to drive places more. They have a nice car instead of walk, they drive. People want to sit instead of stand. People want to maybe they enjoy finer foods, finer drinks. They want to go out for restaurants a little more often because they have more money. When you're younger, you don't have as much money, so you're eating just basic food. You have more energy because you are younger. So I feel that when people are younger, they're a little bit more hungrier, and as people get older become a little bit more complacent in life, a little bit more comfort level. And that's okay. I understand that. People like things. I know for me, like I like nicer things that I'm older for sure. I don't want to live the same way I was living when I was 19 years old. But so I want to live in nice things. I want to have a nice place. I get it. But I don't treat that the same way with my diet and my training because I know that if I take my foot off the gas there, I will get fat. I don't want to get fat. Okay, so I want to make sure I stay in good shape, not just for my job, but just overall. I want to be healthy and fit for my body, for my confidence level. So I don't take my foot off the gas because, oh, now I'm 40. So, yeah, maybe I should go to the gym less. Why? Why do I need to go to the gym less? Why should I lift lighter? It doesn't make sense. I feel better now at 40 than I did in my 20s. Why would I take my foot off the gas? That makes zero sense to me. Okay. So when people use age as an excuse, I always just roll my eyes. I go, no, your metabolism's not slowing down. You're slowing down. You're becoming complacent in life. You're putting limitations on yourself because of your age. You're falling victim to that. Well, now that I'm older, I got to be careful. Why? If you're someone who's been training your whole life, why would you be careful? If you're someone who's just starting off brand new in the gym and you're like 50 years old, yeah, you got to be a little bit careful because you're more susceptible to injury. But as you continue to train, you're going to strengthen your joints, you're going to strengthen your ligaments, you're going to strengthen your tendons. So you're going to become less susceptible to injuries. All right. So don't play the victim card and blame your genetics and blame your metabolism, blame your age. Just think to yourself, all right, this is the genetics I've been dealt. This is the metabolism I've been dealt. I'm either an endomorph, I'm an ectomorph. It is what it is. Now I'm going to learn to work with my genetics, work with my body type, work with my metabolism, eat with my metabolism, eat for my body type. Okay. Eat with my genetics. So I understand how to put together a program for me. Just like I would understand how to put together a program for you once I have more feedback, background information on the person I'm working with. All right. Which does take some time. And as I said before, it always takes me at least 4, maybe 6 weeks to learn someone's body. But once I learn the formula that works for someone, I'm like a dog with a bone. I stick with it. I stick with that formula until it stops working. And then we revamp the formula again. Okay. And that's another thing. You have to keep making those revisions with the diet, with the training, with the supplementation, because the body does change over time as you get older. Yes, there's more wear and tear on the body. So you have to maybe train a little bit more methodically. But now that I'm older, the only thing I notice is maybe I take a little bit longer to warm up, but I don't necessarily think that's that because I'm older. I think it's because I've just been in the gym for 25 plus years. So I put a lot of wear and tear on my joints, but I still feel good. I'm still injury free. But because I put so much wear and tear on my joints, yeah, it takes me a little bit longer to warm up in the gym, but I can still do all my lifts. I'm actually lifting heavier now at 40 than I was at 20. So again, I don't like when people use age as an excuse. To me, that's another cop out, just like the genetics. So don't use your age, don't use your metabolism, don't use your genetics. Just get your ass in the gym, dial in your diet, and you will get results, period. Okay. Got one more question here. I just saw it. Uh, oh, here's Nick. What's the harshest fitness truth you've learned after coaching hundreds of people that most people simply don't want to hear? You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. Period. Now, here's the thing. Whenever I have someone who complains about not losing the weight, not gaining the muscle, not gaining a smaller waist size, not winning the bodybuilding show, I always say to them, and I'm very honest with them, you're not doing enough. If your goal is this, then you need to be performing like this. Remember when I talked about earlier my clients who train twice a week in the gym and eat 50% clean? Their goal is not this. Their goal is this, and that's fine. Their performance is like this. That's great. Status quo. Why the hell would they train and eat like this if their goal is down here? They don't need to. But if you're setting a goal that's this high, you damn well better make sure that your work ethic is this high too. They have to match. So if you're that person who says to me, hey, again, I need to lose 100 pounds, and you're giving yourself a realistic goal, you're giving yourself a good 6 to 8 months to lose that 100 pounds, which I think is a realistic goal for someone who's very overweight. Okay. So, and I'll look at you and I'll go, okay, well, this is what we need to do. I do need you in the gym 6 days a week. I do need you doing at least 30, preferably 45 minutes of cardio per day. We don't have to start like that, but that's where we're going to go to. And I'll be completely honest, that's where we're going to have to go to because you have a goal that's this. That's a big goal. I want to lose 100 pounds. That's not a small goal. So I need that performance level to be like this. And if I know, then you send me your weekly check-in and you're only in the gym 2, 3 days a week, down. I know that you only ate 60, 70% clean on your diet, down. Okay. I know that you're not sleeping 5, 6 hours a night because you're out with your friends or you're playing video games or you're cruising Instagram, down. There's the work ethic right there. Your goal is still here. They're not matching. You're not doing enough, period. Cut the bullshit. I have no problems telling my clients that. If you have a goal of that such a significant magnitude, then you need to perform at that goal. You need to perform at that level, period. There's no way around it. Okay. So then again, that's the harsh truth. And that's why I tell people when they work with me, I say, what is your goal? Some people, like I said, some people that go is Nick, I just want to be a little bit healthier. I want to be a little bit more fit. I'm okay with still having a bit of a spare tire. But listen, I've got two grandkids. I want to be able to keep up with them. I want to be able to pick up my grandchild. That's a great goal. I want to prevent osteoarthritis, tendonitis, bursitis. I don't care if I'm a little bit, my body fat's at 24%. Okay, no problem. We'll get there. I don't need you in the gym 5, 6 days a week to achieve that. I'll be honest with you. You don't need to put in that crazy amount of work. But if you're telling me I want to lose 100 pounds, I want to win a bodybuilding show, I want to win a bikini competition, you have to put in the work. And that is the harsh truth because I feel like a lot of people think, well, I'm doing everything, but you're not. Because when I look at your diet, when I look at your training, you're not. When I look at if you're training with me in house and you show up 20 minutes late for your session, you're not. All right. And I don't come down hard on those people. I'm like, whatever. It's your life. You do whatever you want. I'm not going to lecture you. You're an adult. But manage your expectations then, because if you're only willing to put in this amount of work, bring your goal back down to that level, period. Okay. Because you can't have crazy, unrealistic goals and have a work ethic down here. You can't. It's not, they're not going to match ever. I promise you. I've never seen anyone get away with that ever. Okay. So if you truly want to have these big goals of magnitude level, which I'm not saying don't have, but you have to be willing to put into work with your diet and your training. You do. And if you know you're like, and you know yourself, you're like, no, I'm not going to be in the gym 5, 6 days a week. Lower that goal. Okay. I- Maybe the goal now goes from 100 pounds to say, you know what? I want to lose 50 pounds in a year. Okay, well, that's a realistic goal, and we can do that training 3 or 4 times a week. We don't have to be in the gym 5, 6 days a week. We can have a little bit more leeway with the diet. We can do this in a slower manner. That's fine. As long as you and I are on the same page, and you as in my client, we're on the same page, then no one's going to get mad at the other person. I'm not going to lie to you and say, yeah, I can get you down 100 pounds if you only just train twice a week. No, I'm never going to bullshit someone like that. I'll be completely honest with you. I'll say, that's an unrealistic expectation. And honestly, as a coach, I don't want to take part in it because that's going to backfire in both our places. It's going to make me look bad. So I don't want to take that on. I want to make sure we're on the same page. And I want to make sure that your goal matches what I need you to do in the gym and with your diet. And if you're not doing that, I'll let you know when you send me your weekly check and go, well, this is why, because you're not trained. And most people know that. They don't need me to tell them why, because they send me the check and they go, yeah, I only work 12 twice a week. Yeah, my diet wasn't perfect. I skipped some meals. I went to McDonald's, whatever it is. Okay, I see why I'm not getting results. They don't blame me. I'm giving them the plan. They have to execute the plan. And that is the harsh truth. And that's the truth that a lot of people don't want to hear. But if you work with me, I'll always give it to you straight. I won't bullshit you. Okay. I will support you. I will hold you accountable. I will do everything I possibly can to get you from point A to point B. But you have to be willing to put in the work. If you're not willing to put in the work, I'm not going to put in the work. I'm not going to drag someone along. I'm way too busy to do that. I'm going to say, well, you know what? You're just not ready for this right now. Call me when you're ready. Okay. Because there's only so much that I can do. But if you're saying to me, like, you know what, I just can't do that right now, I can't. I'll meet you halfway. I'll say, okay, but we got to lower that goal. I'll still work with you, but we need to lower those expectations. Like we need to take those 100 pounds that you want down. Let's bring it down to 50. I can work with that. You're only in the gym twice a week. We can work with that. You want to cheat on your diet once a day. We can still work with that because we'll still get that goal. That to me, if as long as I feel the goal is realistic for the person I'm working with, I'll still do everything I can to get them there. But if I think the goal is just ridiculous and unattainable and they're not willing to put in the work ethic, no, I won't. Because to me, you're wasting my time too at that point. And I don't want to just take someone's money because I feel like, well, they're stupid for doing this. No, I don't need your money at that point. I just want to make sure that I can help you. And to me, I'd rather work with someone who is really trying everything they can to achieve their goal, regardless of how small or big it is. They're willing to put in the work needed to achieve that goal. Those are the people I want to work with. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going out on Monday, July the 20th. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, your workout program, supplements you're currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting the YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe if you have not already subscribed. I truly do appreciate everyone who supports the channel. It means a lot to me. It allows me to keep pumping out content. Don't forget to check out my YouTube shorts. I post anywhere from 4 to 6 YouTube shorts a week. On top of that, I have my coaching reality episode that drops every Wednesday afternoon, as well as my daily Instagram posts. So add me on Instagram, fitcosgrove_, for regular fitness content along with the YouTube shorts and the coaching reality episode that drops later on this week. Anyway, thank you all again, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Bye for now.